Hey everyone, and we are live with Dr. Karen R. Jacobson. Karen is the author of Power Conversations, Creating First Impressions to Lasting Connections. And we're going to talk about her new book and how she got here and all this other cool stuff. And I'm just delighted that she's here. What's up, Karen?
Hey there. How's sunny Florida?
It is fabulous. It's only 87 today. So you're in the land of the sun too.
Yeah, well, we're about 20 degrees less than you today. It's a little bit, we got a little bit of the chill in the air.
Yeah. And then my dad is back in Wisconsin where it's probably like 37. So there we go.
Yeah, well, there's some places where we want to live and some places where we want a vacation. And those of us that live in the sunny lands, we live with a vacation.
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely, we do. So interestingly enough, so we'd been kind of putzing around a little bit online, and then we finally met each other in an NSA Arizona event. So I got to know, first of all, how long have you been involved in NSA, Karen?
I've been in NSA for about 4 years. I started off while I was still running my chiropractic practice and speaking, I was building my professional status. And then a couple of years ago, I had gotten my professional membership, left the balance of my chiropractic practice to be able to really elevate my platform to the next level.
Wow, cool. That's really cool. So you've got some really interesting background here. Let's see. Israeli military commander, doctor, champion ballroom dancer, and an author and speaker. So how do you tell me, Israeli military commander? What the heck is that?
Well, when I was 6 years old, we moved to Israel. And the interesting story about my military service is I grew up at a time where everybody was very patriotic and we all wanted to go into the army and be commanders. And when I was 16, I was in a pre-military course and then I got sick. I had systemic lupus, and that basically is an autoimmune disease, which the way it showed up, it affected me both externally, where I had a butterfly-shaped rash on my face that looked like a third-degree burn, as well as internal challenges. Because of that, I wasn't really able to do regular military service and really accomplish my dream of becoming a commander. So everything really that they allowed me to do was mostly on the admin side. However, when there's a will, there's a way. So ultimately, I ended up as a non-commissioned officer. So I had 80 young ladies under my command. And because of the position that I held, it was actually a position that filled 3 different titles. So I was in charge of women in our unit and in satellite units. I was in charge of all the education in our unit. So I had to do fun things like we had an annual celebration. So I got to put on a party. And I also was in charge of the social needs of our unit. So whether it was to go and visit someone who ended up in the hospital or deal with social issues or personal issues that they've had, which is kind of interesting because that started something that later on in my path as a healer and as a doctor and even as a mentor and a coach is really something that I guess I started early on.
Wow. Well, that's a very different story than a lot of people have. That's pretty cool. So how do you move from that to ballroom dancing, though? There doesn't seem to be a connection there, Karen. What am I missing?
You're missing about at least a couple of years. Really, when I look at it, I don't think it's really different because the tie-in to me is the lessons that I learned from ballroom. Especially when you're dancing ballroom, there's a conversation, there's a connection. And I will never forget one of the first lessons that I learned. Being somebody that was always a leader, always, said yes to leadership roles. Here I am, and I'm going to go dance because I loved dancing and I loved Latin dance. And the first time, get on the dance floor and start learning. And then I start learning technique. And there's a way where when you're dancing, the teacher who was my dance partner is signaling to me to do a turn under his arm. And he doesn't give the signal yet, and I go. And here's the lesson of what Demir, my teacher and my dance partner that I still dance with till today, said to me. He goes, Karen, dancing is like life. And in the picture, I am the frame and you are the picture. My job is to lead you. Let me do my job. I'm going to repeat that last part. My job is to lead you. Let me do my job. And the biggest lesson in leadership for me was that the command and the signal has to be very clear, very precise, so that the listener can actually receive it.
Wow, that's powerful. So precision really makes a big difference. So why aren't we more precise then, Karen? What holds us back from that precision, from actually being the leaders that we know we need to be?
Habits, experiences, fear, the inner voice telling us that somebody else might not like it. When I do training, and especially when I do leadership training, when I give a leadership training and people talk about the fears and their desire to maybe move up and not go, I'll basically come up with something really simple. Let's take this off the table right now. Here's the bottom line. Not everybody in life is going to like you. Not everybody is going to like what you do. Deal with it. There's so many other people that will follow. There's so many other people that when we operate in integrity and with clear vision and precision and discipline, people will follow, especially when we have a message to deliver. That let's not focus on those that are not following. So move past that and go for your dreams.
Wow. So how do we do that though? I mean, that sounds so simple, right? That's not anything that seems all that difficult, and yet we don't do it. So why not? Like, how do we do that, Karen? Give us some practical tips.
So one of the things is that we all have habits, and our habits are created when we're little. And the truth is that a habit is going to remain a habit until we have a good enough reason to make a change. Our growth and our change doesn't happen within our comfort zone. Our growth and our change happens outside the comfort zone. So I'll take another lesson from dance. I'll remember in one of the competitions, my teacher's little boy was about 2 years old, and we're at a hotel lobby after the competition, just sitting and enjoying, reaping the rewards of the competition. And little Adi, who just started walking and learning to run a little bit, is walking around in the lobby where we were sitting, and he's looking at his mom and inching away. And he looks back and he inches away a little bit more. Looks back, inches away a little bit more. And for all that time, while he's still in that comfort zone, Nina's still talking and there's no issue. He gets to the edge of the carpet and he bolts, which is what caused her to get up and go chase him. Because up until the edge of that carpet, that was the comfort zone for both of them. So he kept on challenging, and she was okay until he got to a place where it was too far for her to see where he's going. Now, while she won't limit him from inching past his comfort zone, obviously with the 2-year-old, you're not going to let them roam around crazy in a hotel. But the bottom line is, when we're young, we don't hold on to those same fears. So if I want to make a change right now, then I got to look at where is it that I want to go and what is holding me back. So if I start making a list and I know here's where I want to be in life, here's where I am right now, this void, this space between means that I have some things to overcome. Sometimes they're just steps and time, but sometimes they're fears that don't allow us to move forward. So what is the fear? And more importantly, is it really even real? Most of the time when we have fear, it's stuff that we make up in our head or things that we were told and we believed as kids.
Wow. So is fear real? Is that stuff real? Wow, that's a powerful, powerful question. And asking ourselves, what's holding us back definitely gets us closer to finding, what it is. So do we accept that? Do we push through? I mean, what's that very next step now that we know maybe what it is that's holding us back?
So all of those fears, they come in, they're part of our inner conversations. And in Power Conversations, I actually have a chapter that I dedicate to our inner conversations and our inner talk. Now, while our subconscious brain has a system that protects us, because that's its job, the subconscious mind is there to protect and defend us from things that are dangerous. And it comes all the way from ancient days, even hunter-gatherer, where we need, it's part of our survival. Okay. If I go in and I'm going to go into an area that has a fire and there should be some fear for survival. I'm not going to just go walk in. Now, by the way, if you see a parent or somebody who has a pet that's in a fire and you see these people running in to go rescue, they've overcome that fear because what's inside is greater than the fear. So that means we always have two motivators. We've got the fear on the one end that can hold us back, and then we've got the reward or something that means something to us that has value that will allow us to overcome the fear. Sometimes those fears are not realistic. Sometimes it's our brain, well, what if? One of the things that I focus on, and especially when I deal with people one-on-one and we talk about moving forward to the next level and going past your fears, and we talk about the fears, a lot of the time fears are there because we don't have a plan B. It's that what if? What if this happens? Okay, well, what if? So when you list all your fears, I want you to sit down and create a solution to each one of them. Well, what if this happens? What if the worst possible thing happens? What are you going to do? What's your solution? The minute you have a solution, then it's not unknown. You know where you can go. And that unknown is neutralized, so it doesn't become that fearful anymore.
Wow. So finding that unknown, making it known, neutralizing totally makes good sense to me. So lots of helpful stuff there. So I'm thinking, one of the questions that you ask as you kind of lead into the book, as we transition here from fear to something really simple, and that is a handshake. What's the power of a handshake, and why is that so important, Karen?
A handshake in cultures that shake hands, because not all cultures do, but in cultures that shake hands, it comes from old traditions. And if you look at old traditions, when you put your hands together, it was done at the time part of arm wrestling. Now, a handshake is going to have a meaning the same way arm wrestling has a meaning. And those meanings are subconscious. It's how that nonverbal message is communicated between two people. Now, most people are familiar with that fish-like handshake, the one that you want to go. Yeah, I know you're getting that reaction. I just want to go wipe my hands and wash them, which is a sign of insecurity, lack of confidence. In some cultures, though, that's also a sign of being more submissive in nature. Okay. But if we're talking about business, or if we're talking about introducing yourself to somebody, it's about that moment when you shake their hand. It's very telling who they are and how they relate to you. So in a handshake, if I'm coming in and my hand is forcing your hand down, just like in arm wrestling, I'm telling you who the boss is. Now, there are times where that might be important. But if I'm coming when I met you, okay, and we actually we had a quick handshake because we hugged, because we knew each other. And we have a culture where hugging is more common and more acceptable, whereas in other cultures, that type of contact may not be acceptable. Okay. So when we shook hands, we're going to shake hands as colleagues, as evens. So the hands will be parallel to each other and they'll be straight up. But if I came in and I met you and you were my supervisor, my boss, or if you were interviewing me for a job, I would actually come in and slightly angle my hand down to give you, quote unquote, the upper hand, to signal to you that I see you as the authority in this position. Now, I wouldn't put it completely submissive. And the reason being is, yes, I know you're the boss. You might be the one that's hiring me, but I still want to show that I have enough confidence in myself that I am worthy of the position, the job, the title, etc.
That's super interesting. I have never thought about that. Wow, that's really interesting. So, I mean, did you study this, or how did you learn this, Karen? Because this is new to me. This is not something I've heard before. So I'm curious, how did you learn this?
I started getting involved in communication from the time I was a little kid, and I was pretty much forced into it when I was 6. We got on a big jumbo jet, crossed from New York to Israel, moved to a whole new country. And all of a sudden, I'm in kindergarten with kids that dress differently and eat different stuff than what I was used to. The atmosphere is different. And most importantly, the language was different and I couldn't speak it. As a matter of fact, I remember things from the first half year of kindergarten still in New York, but the second half year of my kindergarten experience when we first moved to Israel is a blank to me. I have no memories of being in kindergarten. Now, I know I was there, but I don't have memories of actually the kids and what we did in kindergarten and any of those experiences because there was such a language gap. Now, being a kid, what do kids want to do? They want to play, they want to connect with other kids, right?
Yep.
So I very quickly needed to learn the language. Israel in that time was a major melting pot. There were people from Europe. There were people from the Middle East, from other Arab countries. There were people from Australia, South Africa. There were people from all over the world. Now, where I lived, we had in our building, we had quite a number of English-speaking people because that was a time when there was a lot of migration. So we started, all of us, developing in what we called at the time Ingru. Ingru is kind of like what people, you've heard, what is it, Spanglish? I think there was even a movie called Spanglish, which is when people come in from Latin America or Spanish-speaking countries and kind of mix Spanish with English. Well, we did the same thing when I was growing up. We mixed Hebrew with English as we were learning. And I was fascinated by languages. Anything that I could hear, I asked, I repeated. I wanted to learn customs, and I was really interested in people's culture from all over the world, and how people connect. And when you don't have language skills, you actually have to connect through nonverbal cues. So really learning those methods put me on a path where I started getting very interested in that. And later on, as I started performing, whether it was singing, whether it was some of the, in school, some of the acting that I did, and further along in my life through ballroom dance, it was all about the expression in the presentation, which was something that really helped me as I moved in more and more into my speaking career. Because even when I started, I built a lot of my practice, my chiropractic practice, through speaking. Whether it was in the office or whether it was in the community, I would share. And we learned storytelling and we learned expression. And it was all about being able to connect to people of all cultures, of all ages, and of all different belief systems and different habits.
Wow. So cool. That's so neat that it started so young and it just carries through to today. That's really quite remarkable. Wow, that's neat. So let's talk a little more about the book here. The book is Power Conversations, Creating First Impressions to Lasting Connections. And we talked a bit about, that first connection, the handshake, and some of those nonverbals. So let's talk about the lasting connection. So how do we transition from, okay, we shook hands to, hey, we can be friends or colleagues or business partners forever?
And here is a little bit of a sneak peek of the book.
Awesome.
Yes. What the way the book is designed, it's to give you the how-to of every step, Phil. How you're building that connection, how you even strike a first conversation with someone. Here's an interesting thing. When I knew we were going to talk, I thought about this. What are some of the things in our connections, in our communications that have changed? When I was a kid, I had pen pals. We used to write letters to each other, and that's how we would make a connection. And then if we were lucky, I remember my pen pal, she was from the States, and she came to visit me in Israel. And that was like a big thing because after 2 years of corresponding, she came and visited for a few days. But think of how long it would take for just the letter. First, I got to write the letter, and then I got to go out and mail it. And if I'm lucky, it might take 2.5 weeks before she got it in her hand.
Wow.
Now we've got these little things.
Yep.
And we can just instantly connect with anyone from around the world. Now that made the world, that global connection, more powerful. But the personal connection has not changed. The rules are the same. We still need to create an interest. We still need to look at verbal and nonverbal communication. We still all have personalities, and our personalities will either draw people in as a magnet or repel them. So what are some of the things that we have to do, whether it's in writing or face to face, in order to connect and build rapport with another human being? How do we talk to people that think differently than us? Some people are big idea people. Some people are all about the details. Some love facts, some love stories. Very often, those people will tend to clash. You ever think of somebody that's going like, okay, just get to the point, get on. All right? Now, first thing is in the book, that when I talk about the hand gestures, that's not one that's going to win you friends. Now that might be where you feel like, okay, there is a point, there's a point to the story, but you are the type of person that wants it that quickly. How do you communicate to somebody that is a storyteller, respect what they have to say, and still maintain a connection without conflict? Now that happens in personal life, and that happens in the work world. The solution is still the same. And that's one of the topics that I touch on in the book. What does eye contact mean? Is it the same in all cultures? No. I went in to bring something to the seamstress yesterday. And this is a seamstress. He was a Korean seamstress. And when I walked in, he was very stern, not many words. And when he heard that I was a speaker, something sparked in him. And it opened Pandora's box, and I had to figure out a way how to finally have him stop telling me stories, because I was there for quite a while. But he found the commonality. Apparently, he used to work in New York and was teaching in film school and taught people stage presence and other things. So he saw that commonality and was ready to share his world. And it didn't matter how challenging it was for him, even in his broken Korean, because it was hard to understand, because it's the way they interpret the language. See, it brings me to an interesting question, because somebody had asked me, when I speak, do I think in English or do I think in Hebrew? It depends on the language that I speak, and I mostly think abstract. But very often, if I speak Spanish, which is as a language that I've learned later on in life, that's when I have to think and maybe translate, because I'm not fluent in the language, so I'm searching for words. And for him, Korean is his mother tongue, English was his second language. So, grammar's different, and the stories don't really flow the same way. But his whole demeanor changed from being that stern guy that was just like, well, what do you like, kind of almost like, what do you want, to, let me tell you a story about what I did, and the pride that he's got about his daughter, who has involved in movies and on Netflix, etc. So here's somebody from a different culture, and he acted with the habits that he has from his culture originally, until he felt that he was ready to move to the next level. Now, if I didn't have respect for that, I could have dismissed him.
Sure.
But now he's like, by the time I left, he was my buddy.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we all have that little light switch, right? That sometimes people can turn on, or sometimes people can turn that out and extinguish it. So that's cool that you found what turned his light switch on. That's great. That's
the key, Phil, in connecting to another human being. See, it's not about what's interesting about me. It's about what you're interested in. And so I need to be interested in you and what you're about. At a certain point, if I don't receive some of that back, then it's a one-sided conversation. But to really build a connection, a lasting connection, be interested in the other human being, show them understanding, respect, compassion, and also create a conversation where you're receiving the same thing, unless you're specifically in a position where your role is to be the one that is more one-sided. Although, in all honesty, no relationship is really one-sided. I've coached people and I've learned from them.
Yeah, absolutely. So many smart bombs today about connection, Karen, which I totally love and enjoy. So as we wrap this up, you gave us a big one there at the end there, being interested in the other person. Is there one more that would help us get even closer and even stronger at our connections that you'd like to share with us?
Something really simple, which we know, we talk about it, they've made songs about it. And when we get into our thinking mind, we tend to forget about it. The value of a smile. When you smile, first of all, you change your own biochemistry. So you release what we call the happy hormones for yourself. But when you smile, and you smile, a smile that really is from the heart, Phil, a smile that reaches the eyes, that somebody else can really see that it's natural, that it's authentic, you make their day.
Wow. So being interested and smiling, two big things, two simple things we can do. The new book is Power Conversations, Creating First Impressions to Lasting Connections. This is Dr. Karen Jacobson. You can find her at Dr. Karen Jacobson. That's JACOBSON.com. You can get a copy of her book there. You can find her on social media, and she is fantastic. And I'm so glad that she spent time with me today. Thank you, Karen. You are a gift, my friend.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing this time with me. You're awesome, and keep smiling.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we've got a couple seconds here as we wrap this up, but if anybody didn't hear that, it's drkarenjacobson.com as we end the broadcast today. Hopefully, Be Live will